Hey Ninjababes! So this is part 2 of Your Thoughts Determine Your Reality. Part 1 was the last episode, so if you missed it and you want to listen to that before you listen to this, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, I think you can fill in some of the blanks and just listen from here. I believe in your ability to fill in the blanks. Try and keep up! Alright, so I'm recording this late at night, so this might be a little loopy. I also had to take some Claritin today, and then I took pre-workout and did a really hard cardio workout. And not gonna lie, I feel kind of dizzy now, and I don't know if that's a side effect that I should be concerned about, but I'm trying to drink a lot of water and replenish whatever was stolen from me with that Claritin. Cats, I'm allergic to cats. I recorded a podcast earlier today with Angela Gargano, and she is a cat girl. If you know her, you know. She loves the kitties. Anyways, SleepOvation is an amazing mattress company that is changing the comfort game with their 700 tiny mattresses in one. SleepOvation offers a 100-night trial with free returns. They are CertiPure US certified. They're non-toxic, which means you're not sleeping on a bed of harmful chemicals. They're 100% made in the USA and offer free shipping in the US. This mattress is supportive, comfy, and I look forward to sleeping on it every night because it gives me such great rest. We all know as athletes, we need those precious hours of sleep to help us recover and be ready to crush life and ninja the next day. The technology of this mattress is really cool. Each individual foam piece can press down independently from the rest of the bed, so that helps to alleviate pressure on your joints and muscles because it allows your body to move freely without feeling like you're stuck sinking into the bed or rigid laying on something immovable. This is the ultimate in comfy and genius in its support technology. So tap the link in the details on your phone or check out the Ninjababes YouTube channel and find the link there. Today, Your Thoughts Determine Your Reality Part 2, we are talking about how do you actually begin to build those positive thought spirals that we were talking about in the last episode. So let's do a really, really quick review. So in part 1, we were talking about how when you have those negative thoughts and you're able to recognize them and recognize yourself in that spiral, what you want to do is acknowledge it in your own head and then neutralize the thought. So what I mean by that is recognize that you're having the thought and sort of like even the level of the playing field, even the playing field. How does that go? Level the playing field. For example, if you constantly are thinking, I'm so ugly, I wish I was pretty, like this girl at work that I always see, I don't like my abs, like I don't like my stomach, I wish I had abs, whatever weirdo, like negative thought you're dealing with, you want to neutralize it. So realize that you're having the thought and think to yourself like, okay, I'm comparing myself to this other girl at work who I think is really pretty and prettier than I am. And that's making me feel bad about myself. And it's making me think that my body is ugly or that I'm just not pretty enough. So then you think to yourself, okay, well, I value my body. My body is this body that I'm in. Like, this is me. This is who I am. And this other girl, that's her body. That's who she is. And she's trying to live her best life. Like, she's a right to be pretty. She has a right to be who she is. And I have a right to be who I am. Who's to say that I'm ugly? Like, I'm the only one that's telling me that I'm ugly. Like, do I want to tell myself that I'm ugly? No, I don't. I don't actually want to do that. Maybe there's other people in my life telling me I'm ugly, but that's... like, I don't have to agree with their thoughts, and I don't have to take those thoughts and make them my own. I'm in charge of my own brain, and I don't want to tell myself that I'm ugly. I actually want to remind myself that I am beautiful and believe and know that I'm beautiful. So you sort of neutralize it. You say, like, this is my human body. This is who I am. That's that person doing what they're doing. And you sort of, like, see the thought for what it is. Even it out. Then you think, what is the positive thought I want to have about myself? So I sort of already jumped into that. Maybe you want to say, I am beautiful. I want to know that I'm beautiful. I want to believe that I'm beautiful. And I don't want to feel intimidated or less than by other people in my world. So, but maybe you're thinking like, Okay, but I don't feel beautiful. How do I convince myself that I do? That's such like a foreign concept that's so far out. Well, I like to refer to these thought patterns as thought spirals. So I refer to them a lot as a negative thought spiral and then a positive thought spiral. And the reason I call them spirals is because when they're negative, it feels like you're falling and you can't catch your footing and it just goes down and down and down. But when they're positive and it's a spiral, it's like you're gaining momentum with every turn. You're going up and up and up, and it's going to propel you and like throw you up into this positive atmosphere. So that's why I refer to them as spirals. And I hope that you'll kind of latch onto that picture with me to help you as you're building your own positive thought spirals. If you think about a spiral, with each rotation or each curve of that spiral, it's gaining a little bit of height and going up and up and up, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So you're not just jumping from the ground level to as high as you can go. You're actually building momentum and building height with each spiral. So similarly in your brain, you have, neurons, neurological pathways in your brain. And I'm not going to get deep into the science of this, but basically your brain through neurological synapses forms these thought connections, and it sort of like carves out patterns in your brain. And as you think those same thoughts over and over, it becomes like, if you want to say muscle memory in your brain, it becomes easier to think those thoughts because you've thought them so many times before and you just sort of think it automatically, and it feels innate. It feels like this is who I am. This is my personality because it's so effortless to think that way. Even think about like, it's so easy sometimes to drive home from work without even thinking about it, right? Like, your body just seems to know what to do. Your brain seems to go on autopilot and you just somehow arrive home. Or like if you're so used to driving home at a certain time of day, and maybe when you were leaving work, you're like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store before I stop home. But you were like so in the zone of driving and like you really weren't even thinking about it that suddenly you like arrived home and you're like, wait, how did I get home? I was going to go to the grocery store. But it's like that automatic autopilot of your brain, just like you zoned out, your body and your brain just knows where to go and you just went there. So in your brain, you have the ability to really form these thought patterns that can seem and feel so effortless. So that's where I want to start, is to help you realize that your brain, like the more you think a certain thing, the easier it is to think that. And the more it's like we convince ourselves that's who we are. Like we call it our personalities, but really your personality is made up of what you think. And I know, like when I first started learning about this, I was kind of like, that's weird. No, like your personality is your preferences. Your personality is like in your DNA. Like, no, like I don't just think my personality, like I am my personality. And yes, like you are your personality, but your personality is still like deep down inside derived out of the thoughts that you're thinking. Because think about it, like, think about it. Like your preferences even for, I don't know, things that you like, clothes that you like to wear, styles that you like to do, types of social situations that you like to be in, they're all formed, like you make those decisions out of thoughts that you're thinking. So even if you're thinking, I hate loud parties, I'm introverted, I don't want to be in loud parties. Well, you're still thinking the fact of, I don't want to be there. I don't like when rooms are crowded. I don't like a lot of different conversations happening at once. It's like noisy. It's too much going on. I don't like it. Well, there's still thoughts behind that are forming those preferences. So maybe you feel uncomfortable in situations where you're not in control. And when there's a lot of people that you don't know, you don't feel in control. And so because you're somewhere deep inside telling yourself that you can't possibly manage all these people, you can't possibly know who they all are. And so that makes you feel afraid. Maybe that makes you uncomfortable. Like there's that's just one example, but there's reasons behind everything that you feel, or like the preferences that you feel that you have. There are like thought reasons behind all of that, and most of it is so ingrained in who we are that we take it for granted as our personality, rather than realizing that it's actually a very like stored up, compact thought process that you've had like your whole life that's like formed who you are. And so it's even weird how like you grow up and some people can seem so much like their parents, or like, oh, you're definitely siblings because you both do that thing. And a lot of that is like our nature that's learned, but it's learned because it's learned in such like a close way, because genetically maybe you look the same, but you've also grown up with this individual and been able to mirror like their patterns, mirror things that they do your whole life. So much of our personalities is in a way how we were nurtured, like how we grew up, the things that we saw, certain traits in that way of preferences or likes, dislikes, the way you act were passed down to you from family members and things, but in the way of your thinking. And I know this is like a little bit deep, but it's like you receive the identity of how you think through who you're spending time with and how you foster those thoughts inside of your head. Even just the other day, for example, I was leading a Ninjababes hangout group, and we were having a discussion about negative thought spirals and how to recognize them, and how to, this very thing that we're talking about. And one of the girls in the group said, I'm listening to everybody share these negative habits and their thoughts that they have, and I'm realizing that I don't have that. And she was like, she's like, I know it's not bad, but it's like weird that like I hear everyone talking about it, but I don't have that. I was like, that's not bad at all. That's awesome. But do you want to share like why do you think that? And she was like, like my parents just really taught me how to really look on the bright side and to see the good in situations and to like let stuff roll off my shoulders and move on. And that's very much something that she learned from her parents, because they helped to reinforce and teach her the way to think, even if they didn't necessarily like sit down and say, all right, honey, like this is how you think about situations. Like I'm teaching you how to have positive thoughts. It's, it's seen in the action. It's learned from the people around her. So in the same way, maybe you're like, oh, I'm so anxious, just like my mom. Well, it's not, I do think there's some amount of cellular DNA that could influence you and pass that along through family relations like that. But I also very much think that you are learning this stuff subliminally by growing up with people like that who are very anxious or whatever, and you are learning how to mirror their thought patterns. Even if you're not discussing the thoughts, your brain is able to pick up on so many nuances around you, whether that's body language or actions that are taken, things that you say. You pick up on all of that and you internalize it, whether you like it or not. So I talked a little bit on YouTube in the preview for this episode, explaining that you're able to change your personality. And so I feel like I'm talking about two different topics at once, but they really all go together, and maybe there'll be a part 3 of this episode just so that I could kind of get all of it out. But you are, I mentioned how I was a very introverted child and I became a very extroverted adult. Now, all of us have both introvert and extrovert tendencies and preferences or habits, but so many people really label themselves and say, I'm an extrovert, I'm an introvert, that's who I am. It's almost like an excuse. Hear me out. It's almost like, oh, I can't do this, I'm an introvert, I just can't do that. And like, I understand needing to like have alone time to re-energize, needing to be able to like really be in my own thoughts, to like clear my head. I get that. Like, I totally understand that, and I need that too. But, and people would say, oh, well, you're an introvert. Well, I think that everybody needs both types of interactions, introverted and extroverted. It's just, I think it's dangerous to label yourself clearly, like one way or the other, because then you're boxing yourself in. You're saying, oh, you can get to the point where you're saying, oh, I'm an introvert, and so it's really hard for me to get up in front of people and share my thoughts with a group. Essentially, you are reinforcing to your brain when you say those things, but also just when you think and act from those thoughts, you're reinforcing to your brain that you are incapable or unwilling to step outside of what may feel like your comfort zone and share your own thoughts and feelings with the people around you, or public speak, whatever it is. And you're reinforcing to your brain that that is so. But what if you thought, okay, my tendency is that I really don't like speaking in front of people. Pause. Why don't you like it? Do you feel uncomfortable? If so, like, why do you feel uncomfortable? Is everyone looking at you? Do you not want people looking at you? Like, wind it really far back so that you can figure out, like, what is the root of you not wanting to speak in front of people? Do you not want the responsibility of, like, having people actually, like, listen to you? Like, does the thought of, like, having to be accountable to your words in front of many people freak you out? Do you think you're a really terrible person to look at and you don't want people to look at you because you're ashamed of how you look? Have you been told before that you're a bad speaker and so you're just very ill-confident of speaking in front of people? Are you worried that no one will see value in the words that you say and so you just avoid it? Like, what is the actual reason that you're saying you're an introvert? Because from my own experience, when I was growing up, I was very shy, but like, even using the word shy, like, why was that? What was shy? Why was I shy? I was shy, but I wasn't shy all the time. Like, when I was just with my real friends, or even my brothers, my family, I was a weird goofball and I wouldn't shut up. Like, I was like, there was a lot of times that I'd want to be by myself or whatever, but I didn't like talking to people in front of people. I didn't like introducing myself to people. And if I really look back and try to decipher that, I couldn't make the R sound. Okay? So I went to speech for several years when I was a kid. So before I started speech, couldn't make the R sound. And so my name is Kara. When I would introduce myself, people would say, like, hi, what's your name? I'd be like, I'm Kara. And they'd say, huh? I'd say, Kara. And they'd be like, Carl, what? What's your name? And I would be so embarrassed that I couldn't even say my own name. People would misunderstand me. People would be like, oh, it's Karen. Oh, it's Carla. Like Sierra. They would come up with all these other names. And I would, a lot of times, try like 4 or 5 times to say my name to them so that they would understand it. And half the time they didn't. Most of the time, one of my older brothers was with me and they would correct them and be like, oh, it's Kara. But I don't remember when that started. I just always remember being embarrassed to say my own name and feeling like people couldn't understand me. And so I think that caused me to be shy because I was very like embarrassed of trying to speak because I couldn't speak clearly. And now like here I am, I have a podcast. I mean, obviously I was in speech therapy for several years as a child. But I also had a very hard time reading when I was a kid. My mom tutored me at home in reading for many years. I just didn't feel smart. And so I think that intimidated me from like sharing my feelings in front of other people. And that repetitive feeling because of me telling myself like, you can't talk well, people don't understand you, like, just don't even try. Like, it forced me into a box of acting introverted. And so I would be very extroverted and weird and funny with like my best friend or with my brothers at home because that's who I wanted to be. That's who I felt comfortable being. But when it came to like interacting with people who didn't know me, I was terrified of being that. But that changed after, I would say, going into like high school, going into college. Like, it gradually changed over time. But like, I didn't have trouble with my R's past third grade. Really, I would say in third grade, I think, is when I finished speech. So from kindergarten to third grade, I was in speech for my R's. And so, after third grade, I could say my R's correctly, but I was still extremely shy because for several years as a little kid, I'm thinking, I can't talk. Don't even talk because you can't. Because you sound like a doofus. Like, that's how I felt. And people, I don't know, there's something so valuable to me about names and what they mean and how they affect people by their meaning. And so the fact that, no one understood my name, I couldn't say my name right, it really, deep down inside, made me feel, insignificant. So then, once I started to find my own self-confidence and believe in myself, be proud of who I was later in high school, but then greatly in college, I became much, much more of an extroverted person because I was proud of who I was and I wanted to be myself in front of other people and make more friends and all of that. And so that was a change in my thinking. I changed my personality, but it wasn't that my personality changed and so my introversion changed to extroversion. It was that my thoughts changed, and that's what caused my introversion to change to extroversion and caused my personality to change because of my thinking. So that's the point I want to get across, and that's where I want to be able to explain building these positive thought habits. Because once you can recognize what's really, really going on, then you can address that foundational situation in your identity or what it is that you believe about yourself. And that's where you can really, really begin to change and make those positive thought spirals and really ingrain them into your being. Here's another example, fitness related. So for me, it was about over a year into Ninja that I started having a lot of pain in my right shoulder after workouts. Really, it ended up being all the time. I started going to a PT right around when season 10 in Baltimore filmed because I was in so much pain, and all I could think was I just have to make it through filming, and then I'm going to go to physical therapy and figure out what's wrong with me. And basically it was it's a long story, but it was a muscle imbalance, and my muscles weren't really working together the right way, and so I was having a lot of overuse issues in my delts and my upper traps. And so probably a couple months into PT, I just started having these thoughts of man, all these other ninjas who are gymnasts or have a gymnast background, they've been working their shoulders the right way for years. And I was a lower body athlete growing up. I did track and field, I did volleyball, which is a little bit both upper body and lower body, but it was a lot of legs. It was a lot of squats. And even when I started doing strength training after college, it was very much I did learn how to do pull-ups and things like that, but it was still what's your squat PR? I don't know. I was still doing a lot of lower body stuff. Anyways, when I started realizing a lot of my issues with my shoulder were related to not having a really great upper body foundation of strength. I had some, but ninja training is so much more intense than what the strength training that I was doing at the gym. It was just very different. So all of a sudden I'm hanging and I'm doing all this intense grip strength stuff. I'm doing this salmon ladder. I'm doing things that are very intense for my shoulders, and I think my body just wasn't totally ready to receive that in the healthiest way. And so I remember having these thoughts of gosh, all these ninjas who have a gymnast background, they're just always going to be better than me. And here I am dealing with this weird injury, but not injury. It's a muscle imbalance thing that's causing me pain. And what if I'm just never going to get any better because the shoulder's always going to be an issue? And that was a fear, that was a worry. But I was also just really talking down myself, and I was just setting myself up for disaster a little bit because I was just well, here I am now. I'm 28 and I'm just going to start falling apart from here. And just thinking badly about my own body. But then I was if that's my negative thought spiral, if I recognized, okay, my whole life I trained as a lower body athlete, and I had no idea I was going to start trying to become a ninja warrior. That was not in my frame of reference back then. If I would have known, sure, I would have started foundationally training upper body long before ninja. Or I would have gone into ninja with like maybe a little bit of a better plan. But I started ninja like for fun. I started ninja because I was dating a ninja. And I eventually like fell in love with ninja and like, but in the beginning, like I didn't know that's what I wanted. And so, I realized that, okay, Kara, you went into this like with a whole heart, and now you're realizing that you need to build upper body strength the right way, build shoulder strength the right way. I don't have to beat myself up about that. And I can't go in the past, be like, Kara, you should be building that shoulder strength better. I can't do that. And I'm not going to like beat myself up about that. And so I did think, you know what? I'm really proud of myself for stepping into a new sport, something that's totally new to me, and like being brave and going after this. And now I've run into this little speed bump of like, I'm having a lot of pain in my shoulder, in my neck, and like, I need to figure this out. And now I'm in a place where I can figure this out, and I can do this the right way. Okay, neutralize that. So now I want to be a strong, healthy ninja. I want my shoulders to be healthy. I want to train a smart way, and I want to be in a good place. Okay, that's kind of like a spiral up. That's not like all the way up here, but that's like a spiral up. I want to be a healthy ninja. I want to listen to my PT because he's smart. He's going to help me learn how to train the right way. So I'm going to train the right way. I'm going to talk to other ninjas who seem smart, like they really know how to train well. And I'm going to listen to what they say. And I'm going to surround myself with this community that is smarter than I am, and I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to know that my body is capable of making changes. My body is capable of learning and adapting and growing and getting stronger. Okay, so now we're going up on the spirals. I'm going to become a stronger ninja in my explosive upper body strength, in my endurance, my hanging endurance, my grip endurance. I'm going to become stronger. Okay, so now you see how we're going like higher on these spirals as like my goals are becoming more specific and bigger. And so like I began to show myself how to go up and up and up this spiral until I can say like I want to clear a qualifying course on A&W. Like I want my whole self to be in a healthy place where like my legs are working the right way, my shoulders are working the right way, and like I can put it all together and clear a qualifying course. Like that's ultimately my top spiral goal. But in order to be in a place where I can reach that top spiral goal, I need to like see all the way down to the bottom of I love myself, I value who I am. I'm so thankful for my body that's able to grow and become stronger and to apply all of this ninja knowledge and like live it out. This is my life. Like this is what I want to do. And I'm not going to like worry about ninjas who have a gymnast background. I'm not going to worry about it. They're my friends and they're inevitably going to like help me be stronger and smarter. But I'm going to value my track background and use those skills. I'm going to be able to see myself succeed in ways I never thought possible, because before I doubted myself because I wasn't a former gymnast. But now I can be extra proud of myself because I'm just Kara and I know my own background, but like look at all the strength I've accumulated and look how far I've come. And like that makes me excited. So being able to like either work from the bottom of the spiral and come up, or think about what might feel like a really big lofty goal. I want to hit a buzzer on A&W. That seems crazy and big. Okay, well, let's like back it up and come down the spiral. You see what your top goal is at the top of this spiral, and you think, what would be, if that's where I want to be, like, where am I starting? And then you bring yourself back to that neutral place of here I am. I'm just a girl who wants to be good at ninja, and I want to be part of this community. And like, here I am. I've had injuries before. Like, my background had nothing to do with ninja, but like, I want to be healthy. I want to enjoy life, and I'm thankful for where I am right now. What's the next step? So go ahead, even right now, if you have the ability to just stop what you're doing and think about what is that negative nagging spiral that you always find yourself in, that always wants to come back into your brain. How do you neutralize it? Like put out that fire and really like Just see the unbiased facts of like what's really going on. Don't let anyone else's opinion or anyone else's words or thoughts about you affect what you're thinking right now. Like, just see yourself for who you are and like ask yourself, like, what's really causing me to have these feelings, right? Because your feelings are actually produced out of the thoughts that you're thinking. Quiet your mind and allow yourself to explore those thoughts. Why am I feeling intimidated? Why do I not want to put myself in this situation? Like, what is the reason behind it? And then once you can get to that place and sort of settle down those thoughts and just neutralize it, then start to build up that positive spiral. And write it down. Draw a picture. Like, it really helps sometimes to just see it on paper and like be able to see your starting point. And maybe you can't even think of like, what is my positive goal? Like, I just feel ugly, or I just feel fat and like I don't feel healthy, like whatever it is. Or I just, maybe your negative thought is like, I'm just always negative. Like, I'm a pessimist. And again, like, you're just labeling yourself as something negative. You weren't born and they said, oh, this one's a pessimist. Like, that's not how that works. Like, you might feel like, oh, there's optimistic people and there's pessimistic people. Maybe you have tendencies to think negatively or think pessimistically, but what is the reason that you're thinking that way? Like, that's still stemming from thoughts, and those thoughts are still changeable. So just really be willing to ask yourself, like, where is all this stemming from? Write it down. Draw a picture of where you want to be. Like, write down that big goal that you want. Or if it's too big to start at the top, what's just the next step? But what's then the next step after that, and after that, and after that? What are those steps that are going to lead you in that upward spiral? And then remind yourself every day of where you're going, where that spiral is taking you, and speak those positive affirmations over yourself. And I promise you are going to feel and see a difference in your life. All right, Ninja Babes, that's what we got for today. That was part 2 of Your Thoughts Determine Your Reality. Definitely check out part 1 if you want more, and let me know what you think. We can definitely do more teachings about this, and I can divulge in different aspects of this topic. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, DM me or email me at theninjababes@gmail.com. And don't forget also to check out some of the events we have coming up. If you are in the Philly, New York City area, there is a closed group on Facebook from the Ninjababes Facebook page. You can request to add yourself to that group. And that will just keep you in the know about local events that are happening this summer in both the Philly and New York City areas. And we will be adding more city hangout groups. So if you're really interested in wanting to host one of these groups or be a part of these hangouts in your city, definitely contact me. We're forming teams and like putting those groups together now over the summer. Lots of exciting things to look forward to.